All right.
He seems to really like her.
Today, there are 4 senators that said they're not supporting this health care bill, 4 Republican senators. What is your message to them? Because your supporters that voted for you are a little frustrated because you have the White House, you have the House, Republicans have the House and the Senate, but you have these senators that are not on board.
Well, there are also 4 good guys and they're 4 friends of mine, and I think that they'll probably get there. We'll have to see. Healthcare is a very difficult situation. If you look, the Clintons tried to get it, and after years and years they couldn't do it. Obamacare was murder for them to get, and now it's failed. It's virtually out of business. Obamacare is a disaster, and we're trying to do something in a very short period of time. It's interesting, Ainsley, I've been here for only 5 months. People saying, where's the health care? Where's the health care? Well, I've done in 5 months what other people haven't done in years, and people have worked on health care for many years. It's a very complicated situation from the standpoint you do something that's good for one group but bad for another. It's a very, very narrow path, but I think we're going to get there. We have 4 very good people that, it's not that they're opposed, they'd like to get certain changes, and we'll see if we can take care of that.
We're getting word now that some Democrats even want Nancy Pelosi to step down. A lot of Republicans think Democrats are in denial. They didn't win these special elections. They don't have the House. They don't have the Senate. They don't have the White House. What do Democrats need to do? Are they in denial, and what do they need to do to get on board?
Well, first of all, I hope she doesn't step down. I think that it would be a very, very sad day for Republicans if she steps down. I'd be very, very disappointed if she did. I'd like to keep her right where she is because our record is extraordinary against her. But we'll see what happens. There has been a lot of talk about her stepping down. We'll have to see what happens. The victory in Atlanta was very big. They spent $30 million. We had a candidate who did a very, very good job. I think I helped a lot. And we had a great candidate. But we were 5-0, as you know, in these special elections. And I think the Democrats thought it would be a lot different than that. 5-0 is that's a big margin. And this last one was very interesting, though, because they put everything into it. They had every consultant. They had agencies, advertising agencies.
Hollywood?
I mean, think of it. Hollywood came out. And in the end, we won quite easily, much, by a bigger margin than anybody would have thought. So they're going to have to do something. I will say this. They are right now obstructionists. All they want to do is try and obstruct. I think they'd do much better as a party if they got along with us, if they called us and said, let's work on health care together, let's work on tax cuts together and tax reform, let's work on infrastructure together, we can do it together. I honestly think they'd do better at the polls. I think the American public is tired of obstructionists. And I honestly believe that. And when I say that, boy, would the people love to see 2 parties getting together and coming up with the perfect health care plan. Because Obamacare has failed now. It's dead. The insurance companies are all flocking and leaving. And it's a real problem.
Wouldn't that be refreshing if they could all come together?
It would be so nice. And that's the way it should be. And there have been moments in our country's history where that's what happened. And those were the greatest things, whether it was Social Security or Medicare. It was 2 parties got together and came up with great solutions to problems. I don't think that's going to happen, but that is what should happen.
He's absolutely right. Great interview, Ainsley. You covered a lot of territory. But he's right. When people go to the polls to send people to Washington, it's not to send them to go and obstruct. It's to go and get something done. And he is on the verge of trying to fix the Obamacare, which is falling apart.
Guess who is joining the obstruction parade? One Barack Obama, who on the sidelines now put out this quote: the Senate bill unveiled today is not a health care bill. Simply put, if there's a chance you might get sick, get old, or start a family, this bill will do you harm. And small tweaks over the course of the next couple of weeks under the guise of making these bills easier to stomach cannot change the fundamental meanness at the core of this legislation. What struck me was a line in the middle. This bill will do you harm. Well, Mr. President, what is Obamacare doing to people in a state like Wisconsin, for example, This week, Aetna said, we're out. We're done with the exchange.
Yeah.
So if you've got cancer and you're in Wisconsin right now, God forbid, it's tragic.
Right.
You've got to deal with it. How is Obamacare helping you if insurance companies are running?
He said if you like your
How are
doctor,
they
you
helping?
can keep your doctor. Your premiums are not going to go up.
Yeah.
Both of those.
What if you listened to him on all of that and it didn't come true?
Right.
Didn't that do people harm when they lost their doctors?
Absolutely. Ed, remember in the olden days when a president would leave office
I
and
know.
then not immediately
Yeah.
criticize the guy
Long
who
ago.
takes place?
Long gone. I miss those days.
Long gone. Well, if it's not the ex-president, it's the current House Minority Leader, Nancy Pelosi.
She may be a former.
Well, maybe, after, as President Trump said, he's 5-0. He won the general, won those 4 specials, and the Democrats simply don't have a message. And they got Nancy Pelosi, who simply cannot win. Now a lot of people are saying Nancy Pelosi has got to go. So yesterday she had a press availability defending herself.
Yeah, she's fighting for her job. She wants to say she thinks she's doing great. Listen.
You want me to sing my praises? Is that what you're saying? Why should I? Well, I'm a master legislator. I am a strategic, politically astute leader. I am my leadership is recognized by many around the country, and that is why I'm able to attract the support that I do.
Democrats don't seem to be buying it, though, because her own staff was putting out suggested tweets. Hey, go tweet #StandWithNancy.
Just cut and paste.
They're worried. They're worried.
Absolutely, because at the same time that she was giving that press availability there in the House, apparently in the office of New York Democrat Representative Kathleen Rice, she was hosting a strategy meeting on how to
oust
get
Nancy Pelosi.
out of the job.
Well, our viewers are weighing in, Ronell, on Facebook. The longer she remains where she is, the more likely Republicans will keep on winning.
John on Facebook says Democrats should follow the George Costanza rule, do the opposite of what they think is the right thing.
Grant is up and on Facebook, and he writes they can fabricate everything but an election victory.
I think Democrats are just realizing, hey, we've lost the last 4 special elections. We lost the House, we lost the Senate, we lost the White House. We got to do some changing. Enough of the collusion, enough of the corruption. We need to maybe do what's best for the American people. And they say we need some new leaders because the leadership that's in there now, it's not working.
A couple of years ago, the Republicans in Washington had these bumper stickers that said, "Fire Pelosi." They have recently changed it to say, "Hire Pelosi." They would like to keep her and her losing streak alive.
Yeah, very interesting, because you've got this division on the Democratic side, and then in your interview, the president's dealing with the fact that the big problem on health care now is his fellow Republicans bringing them along, so both sides are dealing with that.
He's hoping that she sticks around.
That's all. All right, it's about 7:11 here in New York City, and we've got some news. Jillian?
That's right. Good morning to you guys. We
Morning.
do begin with some breaking news right now. Moments ago, we found out a faulty freezer started that London high-rise fire where at least 79 people died. Police also blamed the material, the coating on the tower, for spreading the flames at such an alarming rate. It's supposed to increase energy efficiency, but experts have long warned about its safety. The material restricted in the United States. 600 other buildings in the UK are being tested for that material. At least 11 do in fact have it. Authorities say every company involved in the building faces manslaughter charges. And moments ago, North Korea said it's the biggest victim in Otto Warmbier's death. How so, you're asking? Officials say they didn't torture Otto, and the United States is waging a smear campaign against them. The 22-year-old died less than a week after being released by the rogue nation. Hundreds of people showed up as he was laid to rest yesterday. His younger brother, Austin, remembered him as the most popular person he's ever met. And he also said he's someone who was always there for his friends. Meantime, North Korea testing another rocket the U.S. believes could be part of its program to develop an intercontinental ballistic missile. The man accused of trying to blow up people in 2 states could spend the rest of his life behind bars. A federal judge refusing a request from Ahmad Rahimi's lawyers to reduce explosives charges. He's accused of setting off bombs in Chelsea, New York, and in New Jersey, injuring dozens of people. The judge postponed ruling on a separate request to throw out witness testimony that could brand Rahimi as a terrorist sympathizer. And how about this? Johnny Depp in deep water. The Pirates of the Caribbean actor commenting about assassinating President Trump while at the Glastonbury Festival in England. Take a look.
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
As you can imagine, we are getting a lot of emails about this one, and you guys have some comments for us, right?
That's right. Because he said, when was the last time an actor assassinated a president? And he said, I want to clarify, I'm not an actor. I lie for a living. However, it's been a while, and maybe it's time.
Wow.
Well, we did ask for some of your comments, and Ron T. says he should be arrested for those comments. Better yet, maybe it's time for Johnny to go to North Korea and assassinate someone who deserves such a fate, Kim Jong-un.
Wow.
And Mark C. adding, when was the last time an actor opened their mouth and actually said something intelligent? That's a good question.
Okay, keep them coming. We'll read them all morning long. All right, meanwhile, straight ahead, President Trump wants to keep immigrants from receiving welfare at least for 5 years, and the left is freaking out. Former Secret Service agent Dan Bongino says that's the price of the American dream, and he knows a thing or two about that. He's joining us live next.
The time has come for new immigration rules which say that those seeking admission into our country must be able to support themselves financially and should not use welfare for a period of at least 5 years.
Now, President Trump claiming he's trying to revamp an immigration policy put in place by the Clinton administration, but some in the media are still finding a way to slam Republicans.
Our next guest says this is just the price of the American dream. Former Secret Service agent and host of the podcast Renegade Republican, Dan Bongino, joins us from Palm Beach Gardens. Dan, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Hey, good to be here. Good morning, guys.
Okay, so when the President of the United States says that about 5 years with illegals, that's the law of the land ever since Bill Clinton.
Yeah, it is the law of the land. And, you know, to all the liberals out there freaking out, I just want to send a strong message to you. This is a compassionate policy. You know, the American dream is hard work, learning the language. And I think back to a story I've told on this show before about my mother-in-law, who came here as an immigrant from Colombia with nothing, zero, not a dime in her pocket. She worked hard. She learned the language. She taught her kids. She imbued in them this American dream, this embodiment of the American dream that when you work hard, you can access financial security. You know, you can be safe and secure in a nice, good quality home, get your kids education. And it worked out so unbelievably well for her. But teaching people that they can come here and live off other American taxpayers, that's an American nightmare. That's not the American dream.
Yeah, what would your mother-in-law, what is she saying about this? Because you're right. What's happening is people who are good Americans, hardworking Americans who get up and pay taxes, and then they're subsidizing people who are breaking the rules. What would your mother-in-law, who did the right thing, what would she say?
Oh, she defies every far-left stereotype about Hispanic immigrants into the country, right? She's an enormous Trump supporter, and she's harder on immigration than even I am, and I'm pretty conservative on the issue. Because think of her, put yourself in her shoes for a minute. She came here with nothing, not a dime in her pocket. She used to listen to her daughter, my wife's stomach at night because they had no food to eat, and she refused to take $1 in government benefits. Now you come here, you get to live off Obama phones, Section 8, and you're taught that, oh, I don't have to work. The American taxpayer is going to work for me. She's disgusted by that. She is as diehard a conservative Republican as you're ever going to meet, and it defies every stereotype the liberals have for us out there.
But the freak out continues, doesn't it?
Sure does, and will continue because it works for them.
There you go. All right, Dan Bongino, thank you very much.
Good to see you.
All right, Ainsley, what's coming up?
Well, when one of the world's largest cities came under siege at the hands of Islamic extremists, he fought them off with his bare hands. We have a Fox and Friends exclusive with that hero coming up next.
Can't wait.
All right, time now for your news by the numbers for this Friday. First, $13 million. That's the price tag of these fiery riots in Baltimore. The 2015 protest sparked after the death of Freddie Gray. As you know, 60 business owners are now suing the city for damages. Next, 2 miles. That's the distance from which a Canadian sniper shot an ISIS fighter in Iraq, setting a world record for the longest kill shot. 2 miles. The Special Forces sniper using a TAC-50 sniper rifle to make the 11,316-foot shot. And finally, 1.4 million. That's how many illegal immigrants could be working under stolen identities, according to the IRS. The Inspector General says the agency can only identify about half of Americans affected by the fraud. Now, here's Ainsley.
All right, thank you, Steve. Well, the United Kingdom reeling from 3 terror attacks in just 3 months. The most recent one when terrorists rammed a van into pedestrians along the London Bridge, and other attackers went on a stabbing spree. But in the aftermath, the story of one man's bravery came to light. When others were running to safety, Londoner Roy Larner had the courage to take on some of those attackers. He was yelling the slogan of his favorite soccer team and fighting the terrorists off with only his bare hands. So joining us now is the Lion of the London Bridge himself, hero Roy Larner, for his first national exclusive interview. Roy, great to see you. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
That's right, you're welcome, thanks.
I just wanted to ask you, I'm reading your story last night. You are definitely a hero. What made you were drinking at the bar, what made you leave and go out there and help other people that were being attacked?
I don't think I had time. They smashed their way in through the bar, and there was panic from around the corner where the restaurant was, and I don't think I had time to even think about things. They pulled the knives out, started talking about Islam and Allah and all this, and they just plunged at me, one of them. But apparently I must have done so well on the first one, so they stopped the other 2 going into the restaurant, where the staff and people were saying it stopped them killing more people. Wow. So I must have stopped them going in and that, which was, I don't know, I must have done some good.
You did a lot of good. You did amazing things.
Stabbing me and slashing me. Yeah, that's what I've been listening to. Because I only just come out of hospital over the last week or so.
Well, I'm glad that you're recovering.
I suffered 8 stab wounds.
Yeah, where did they stab you?
Nice. They've slashed my arms and everything. They've stabbed me in my stomach, chest. I've got all stabbed. My ear was hanging off. Stabbed down there. I've been cut in the head. But hopefully in the next month or so, everything will be back to normal. I'm a very lucky person to survive, and people were very grateful that I stopped the other 2 going in as well, which is what I'm hearing. So it's very nice.
What made you decide to run toward these attackers when everyone else is running away, as most people would do?
I must be either brain dead or just thought that we're not having it no more. We've got to. I mean, they've already killed 8 people by then, so they wasn't going to stop until they got shot.
Well, I
mean, the police were very quick on the. Yeah, so.
I know you were looking at the terrorists and you were screaming an expletive that I won't say on air because this is a family show, morning show, but you were saying, blank you, I'm Millwall. So, of course, we wanted to know here in America, what is Millwall? And that is your soccer club, right?
It's actually American. It's a chairman of our club, John Belson. I think he's from Boston. He's the chairman of our club. But Millwall's are my locals. Well, you call it soccer. We call it football. It's a local football club. Which why I said that, I don't know why, but I did.
Well, they have they sent us a statement because they're so proud of you. You are a hero. They said Millwall Football Club wishes to commend Roy Larner for his immense bravery in incredibly terrifying circumstances, and indeed all other members of the public whose actions helped to save others. We want to thank you. I know that the soccer team, the football team, is trying to get you season tickets because they're so proud of you. And I do know that you have what we call here in America a GoFundMe page. You have something similar there in the UK where you have raised, people have been awesome. You have 51,000 British pounds, which is the equivalent of $65,000 in American dollars.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to say thank you to some American people that have sent donations and cards and all that from America as well, which I'd like to say a big thank you to people. It's appreciated, well appreciated. Also, I've had the WBO boxing council. They've donated $5,000, and I met him when I come out of hospital. I can't pronounce his name, but the chairman, the president of the WBO boxing champion. Council, he's donated as well. Well, Millwall doing something as well for me.
Roy, thank you so much.
Big thank you to everyone who's just
thank you. We just want to say thank you. You are a hero, and if people want to give, can we roll the teleprompter back? I want to give people the list. It is justgiving.com if you want to help. His name is Roy Larner. Thank you, Roy. God bless you. You are a hero.
Thank you.
Thanks for waking up with us.
God bless. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Well, fresh off a deadlocked jury in his sexual assault case, Bill Cosby now wants to get back to work, lecturing teenagers on sexual assault. Plus, more of our...
Following losses in 2 special congressional elections this week, one Democratic staffer reportedly said, quote, "We have 80-year-old leaders and 90-year-old ranking members. This isn't a party, it's a giant assisted living center." Even worse, the reporter then asked about the upcoming G7 summit, and several people yelled bingo.
Yeah, age jokes.
When in doubt. All right, coming up, an exclusive. So last night, if you were watching the channel, about 7:30, the President of the United States and the First Lady went to the stage on the south lawn of the White House for the congressional barbecue, welcomed everybody. But what you didn't know was about 10 minutes before that, the two of them were talking to you.
Well, you know, yesterday was such a big day. There was so much to talk to the president about, and he hadn't given interviews all day. So I was very grateful to have that exclusive interview.
In a long time, actually, in a couple of weeks.
This is true. This is the first time that Melania has talked on camera since she's moved to the White House with their son Barron. But we had the Comey tape issue yesterday. You had 4 senators who said they weren't on board with the Republican health care bill. So I wanted to Nancy Pelosi. Democrats are asking her to step down. Big news day yesterday.
James Comey.
Right. So this one is about James Comey. This is a portion of the interview, and also asking Melania what it's like to live in the White House now. Listen.
Congratulations, you moved into the White House. How is it?
We are enjoying it very much.
How about Barron with school? Is he settled?
Loves it, yes. All settled. He loves it here.
Good. Are you missing New York?
Not really. I'm so busy, and we're doing so many great stuff. So it's a really special place.
And tonight,
I love it here.
That's wonderful.
Tonight it's a great picnic, congressional picnic with all of us getting together. It's New York City team, and we have carousel and great stuff outside.
Great. Big news today. You said you didn't tape James Comey. Do you want to explain that? Why did you want him to believe that you possibly did that?
Well, I didn't tape him. You never know what's happening when you see that the Obama administration, and perhaps longer than that, was doing all of this unmasking and surveillance, and you read all about it, and I've been reading about it for the last couple of months about the seriousness of and horrible situation with surveillance all over the place, and you've been hearing the word unmasking, a word you probably never heard before. So you never know what's out there. But I didn't tape, and I don't have any tape, and I didn't tape. But when he found out that that there may be tapes out there, whether it's governmental tapes or anything else, and who knows, I think his story may have changed. I mean, you'll have to take a look at that, because then he has to tell what actually took place at the events. And my story didn't change. My story was always a straight story. My story was always the truth. But you'll have to determine for yourself whether or not his story changed. But I did not tape.
It was a smart way to make sure he stayed honest in those hearings.
Well, it wasn't very stupid, I can tell you that. He did admit that what I said was right. And if you look further back before he heard about that, I think maybe he wasn't admitting that. So you'll have to do a little investigative reporting to determine that, but I don't think it'll be that hard.
Robert Mueller, do you think he should recuse himself from this? Because he is good friends with James Comey. He's hired some attorneys that were part of Hillary Clinton's foundation, have given money to President Obama and Hillary Clinton's campaign. Should he recuse himself?
Well, he's very, very good friends with Comey, which is very bothersome, but he's also, and we're going to have to see. I mean, we're going to have to see in terms, look, there has been no obstruction, there has been no collusion, there has been leaking by Comey, but there's been no collusion, no obstruction, and virtually everybody agrees to that. So we'll have to see. I can say that the people that have been hired are all Hillary Clinton supporters. Some of them worked for Hillary Clinton. I mean, the whole thing is ridiculous if you want to know the truth from that standpoint. But Robert Mueller's an honorable man, and hopefully he'll come up with an honorable solution.
It was interesting because when you were talking about the president raising the specter of tapes and whether it kept James Comey honest, before James Comey testified, remember CNN and others were falsely claiming that James Comey was going to testify that he never told the president that he was not under investigation.
They had to go back and correct that.
Then that was corrected because he testified that he did tell the president he was not under
But he
investigation.
never was saying that until he testified. And that's why the
those
president was saying, the president even said, collusion, corruption, never been proven. There is a leaker, and the leaker is James Comey.
And as we heard from James Comey during his testimony up on Capitol Hill, he did tell the president 3 times, you're not under investigation. So the president, who's trying to get something done, he's going, okay, you've told me 3 times. Can you tell anybody? He goes, nope, I can't. Can anybody please tell folks I'm not under investigation? That's all he wanted. Now we know. But we've also
when
got
his
the special
reputation's on the
counsel.
line and he knows that James Comey is not telling the truth to the American people, he had to do what he had to do. And he said, you might have been taped. That's why you need to be honest. And that's when James Comey said, you know what? The president's not under investigation. And I did tell him 3 times.
Big news story. You were all over it. We got a lot of other news with Jillian this morning.
That's right. Good Friday morning to you guys, to you at home as well. Here's what you need to know before you head out the door. The Canadian man accused of stabbing an airport police officer tried to buy a gun in the United States but failed. The FBI saying Amor Fatoui legally entered the U.S. in New York last week before traveling to Flint, Michigan. Authorities say he shouted Allah Akbar before ambushing an officer from behind, repeatedly stabbing him in the neck with a 12-inch hunting knife. Lieutenant Jeff Neville is in stable condition and is expected to make a full recovery. Fatoui is now behind bars. Here's a question. Would you send your teenager to learn about sexual assault from Bill Cosby? Well, get this. According to his publicist, the comedian who still faces criminal counts of sexual assault will be launching a series of town halls for young people this summer, warning them of the dangers of hanging out and partying. Cosby's lawyer says he is eager to get back to work following the mistrial in his sexual assault trial. An Alabama high school has pulled a summer reading list after complaints from some parents it was just too conservative. Gene